We are live.
Oops, wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get started. At 5:01 p.m., I'm going to call the Wednesday, September 4th Quality of Life Committee meeting to order. May I please have a roll call?
Counselor Castro,
Present.
Counselor Chavez.
Here.
Counselor Garcia,
Present.
Chair Cassett,
I am here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. And for the record, Counselor Faulkner is excused this evening. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes from staff or the committee? And if not, can I please have a motion? Move to approve. Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to approval of the consent agenda. Nothing had been taken off previously. Is there something anyone would like to remove now?
I would actually like to remove items just to recuse myself.
Okay, wonderful. So item C will be removed. Anything else? And if not, can I get a motion?
To approve as amended? Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to our presentation for the day. We have the Planning and Land Use Department Building Division Permitting presentation. I do not see Heather Lamboy, but we do have Tom Gran, our Assistant Land Use Director, and I will send it over to you. Thanks so much for being here. Heather Lamboy is actually in the room. Welcome.
Okay, Madam Chair, counselors, hello, and thank you for inviting us to present information about the permitting division, Planning and Land Use Department. I'm Tom Graham. I'm a Deputy Director for Planning and Land Use. And I oversee the building inspections and engineering divisions of the development branch of the department. Building is the division related to permitting, and that's what I'm going to present tonight. Something you may or may not know about me is that I am an architect by trade, and I do understand the barriers and frustration that come with trying to obtain permits. I've gone into public service to help make a difference. I started with ADA issues, first with the state and then here at the city. And because of my background as an architect, the Planning and Land Use Department was a natural to see what I could do to make the process better, to see if I can make it more efficient and more expedient. I've come to realize that changes in government don't happen overnight. But we do have some good people in our department and with really good work ethics, and we are working toward change. Today, I'm going to discuss who we are, our mission and values, what we do, our vision and services, big picture goals, projects and initiatives, accomplishments, and I'll provide some statistics as well. Our vision is safeguarding the community and shaping a more livable and sustainable. The services that the building department engages in are building permit plan review, coordination, and administrative permit review and approval. These services ensure code compliance for the preservation of life, safety, and the general welfare for the people of Santa Fe. Building division activities involve extensive coordination with other divisions charged with plan review, other city departments, external agencies, customers, and the community alike to review and approve the development activities within the city. By ensuring compliance with adopted policies and regulations, we protect our constituents. Our big picture goals are to improve operations, enhance resources, and advance performance. We intend to improve operations by building and improving systems and our professional expertise needed in order to improve and sustain high levels of service to internal and external customers. We will enhance resources by building capacity, long-term resilience, and enhancing the human, technical, and capital resources available to achieve improved performance. And we're going to advance performance by fostering a culture that values individual initiative, teamwork, innovation, and institutional strength to achieve overall performance. Some of our projects and initiatives are that we are matching the state amended codes that recently adopted updates to the international building codes. Essentially, the codes were updated from the 2015 to the 2021 versions. And we have followed suit in requiring the same construction codes. The new codes adopted by the state and us include the 2021 International Energy Code, or the IECC. Because of this change to the model code, many of the things that were included in the Santa Fe Green Building Code were included in the, can be removed at this time. Previously, we were ahead of the state by requiring a more stringent green building code. And we're currently in process of creating an ordinance or making the required revisions to coordinate with the IECC and still maintain the conservation requirements that are important to us here in the city different. The ordinance should be ready for the governing body by the end of the year. We're constantly trying to improve our digital operations platform and bring the planning and land use division into the 21st century. We have been very busy making various improvements to Energov, but the game changer that we're excited to have prioritized is EVV. This will allow us to have electronic submittals of construction plans we can distribute out to every plan reviewer at the same time. No longer will the burdensome and expensive paper plans need to be routed from one section, one division, one person to the next, and so on. As an architect in the private sector, I had done submittals both ways, and I can't tell you how much of an improvement EVV is over this paper. It really makes a difference. It really is a game changer. We're currently working with IT to get this program written into Energov. Again, this will not happen overnight, but it has been identified and prioritized by our department, and it will come to be. We have produced and continue to refine and create more construction permit submittal checklists, and I'll show you where they can be found in the next slide. We're meeting regularly with the community-based land use working group comprised of members of the Santa Fe area, the Santa Fe chapter of the AIA. One is with us right now. And also the Santa Fe Area Home Builders Association, the Santa Fe Association of Realtors, and the New Mexico Roofing Contractors Association. This allows us to hear the concerns of the construction and real estate industry, work toward policies that improve efficiency. We're also constantly working on filling vacancy staff positions, professional development of staff, as well as organizational improvements, process improvements, identification of project problems, and goal setting as motivation to accomplish our objective. Recent accomplishments include the successful implementation of a third-party plan review into our system with a contract through Safe Built. They're a company that provides these services. And I'll be just going into that. I'll touch on that a little bit in the later slide as well. Excuse me. We've also worked with Front Desk to provide a system for constituents, make appointments with all the divisions within our planning and land use department. But because this presentation is directed to the building permitting division, I'll cover that in a subsequent slide. get to there. So this is the building permit submittal checklist. We have this online in our city website. It can be found through the link above there. Or you can navigate to the building division webpage under city team, community development and planning and land use. There's a sublink connection that will get you. Here you can find checklists for all kinds of residential, commercial and solar projects. There are also checklists for re-roofing, rainwater harvesting systems, walls and fence construction. We intend to continue to create more checklists and improve the ones that we do have as necessary. We don't want to be content with mediocrity. Our plan is to always improve the process. On the building division webpage, there's all kinds of helpful information. It's located within the elevator links identified by the gold arrow to the right of specialized topics. When clicking on the permits by appointment elevator link, you'll find information regarding the submittal types that require an appointment. There is a convenient click here link to schedule the appointment through the front desk system. And there's also a CFAQ link at the bottom of the drop down with information about the third-party plan review program. This downloadable document answers questions such as what is third-party plan review and what type of permits are available to use it. It will identify what is needed for submittals and revisions. There is information about which types of reviews can and cannot be done by the third-party plan reviewer. It also explains how the reviews that are not covered by third-party plan review are expedited in the review duration that can be anticipated. Not all of the reviews conducted by our department or plan review can be outsourced. So we do have to cover some like and things like that. Finally, it will explain that there is a 20% premium on top of standard permit fees for this service and provides a link to the fee schedule so that the person contemplating the service can make an informed decision about the financial impact of their project. So if you were to click the click here link that we were discussing from the previous page, or follow the URL above, you would come to the front desk webpage for appointment setting at the building division. This can be done online through a computer or a smartphone, or it could even be done at the kiosk in front of the land use department over by the business licensing office. This page again provides information to the applicant of the submittal types required for an in-person submittal. It also has a link to the building division webpage or information regarding the online submittal for smaller projects such as re-roof, re-stucco, window and door replacements, shed or decks, as well as solar projects, walls and fences, or trade permits for electrical, mechanical, plumbing, or sewer. There's a button to request an appointment for a building permit or the ability to request an appointment with building division staff for any other reason. There's also information providing an email address that is distributed to several division personnel for general information and quickest response. This email is monitored, and I do know that all the emails are responded to in a timely manner. And I know that because I'm included on the email address and I see them come. So I ran 2 reports from our EnerGov system. that serves as and tracks our building permits as a comparison of the first half year of 2023 and 2024. The bottom line that the report showed me is that the building construction is not slowing down in Santa Fe. While we did process 93 less permits in 2024 than in 2023, the overall size of the construction increased by about 58,000 square feet, which increased the construction valuation by almost $92 million. And that in turn increased the fees that the city collected by 1.2 million. An increase like this would likely be associated with more complex projects, take time to review, and would account for the reduction in permits over that. The building permit division has been consistently issuing around 6,000 permits annually, with the exception of 2021 and the effects of the pandemic. It's averaging about 500 permits per month. And that is a great quantity of work for a division with 10 employees, which includes 4 current vacancies. So Richard Trujillo, the division manager, and his team work tirelessly to serve the public that they provide, and it shows to those people who really understand what they do. I'd like to show you some of the facts produced by the Planning and Land Use Department in 2023. The graph presented here displays the total number of permits issued annually since the year 2015. You can see the consistency I was talking about the last 6 years. We do anticipate that this number will grow with the implementation of EV. It's hard to say how much that will be because staffing capacity is an issue. But I can promise that the process will become more efficient and that will shorten plan review durations. As you can see, the building division issued 6,150 building permits last year. And the inspections division performed 18,500 inspections. Many of these were related to other functions within our department. The engineering division completed 100 infrastructure projects, and they were included within those inspection numbers also. Many permits begin in the planning division. We completed 55 cases with 30 administrative approvals. Planning takes time and research with many meetings to gather input. It's just a fact of historic preservation is also related to planning, and our unique city has specific requirements to maintain our historical value. This division completed 25 archaeological review cases, 175 administrative approvals, and 125 HDRB cases. The department is also responsible for enforcement of environmental concerns and business licensing. The enforcement division investigated and processed 200 code cases and researched, inspected, and issued 1,200 short-term rental permits. Business licensing is also under the enforcement division. They issued 1,200 new business licenses and 5,200 renewal licenses. So let's recap. In a nutshell, the building division provides public safety and guidance with integrity. That protection in our future starts with plan review. We are always making efforts to improve the department and the services. We have implemented third-party plan review and a new system for scheduling appointments to reach the proper staff for constituent concerns. We are presently administering and working on code updates to stay aligned with the state, and most importantly, building and implementation electronic review for all construction plan submittals that will bring our division into the 21st century. And finally, The Building division works diligently to supply around 500 permits a month to the public, totaling around 6,000 permits annually. We aren't the largest staff department who does this in the country or the state even. And we know that there's room for improvement, so we're doing our best to make advances where we can. Here's the thing though, the city staff that we have showing up every day to provide these services are a dedicated and conscientious group of individuals who take pride in the service that they provide and are working diligently to accommodate the public needs while ensuring the safety of everyone. Thank you. I stand for this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you being here and definitely really appreciate you recognizing your staff because I know that it can be an area where people get a little frustrated. So definitely do appreciate their work with people that are trying to figure these things out. So thank you. Any questions or comments from members of the committee at this time? Oh, all across the board. Okay, Counselor Chavez, Counselor Garcia, and then Castro, did you as well? Okay.
You. I just wanted to know if you could speak more to your vacancies as a department. Have you done some root cause analysis as to why you've had the vacancies you've had? I feel like those vacancies have been kind of consistent in lack of retention. So what issues has the department identified as being reasons for those vacancies? And what are the plans to address those issues?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, Counselor Chavez. Thank you for the question. And basically, a lot of our department is very specialized positions, plan reviewers, and they require certifications and training that a lot of the public do not have. So they're unicorns of a sport, and they're hard to come by. We've done some advertising with the international or with the ICC. So they're the code people that set up these code requirements, and we've been advertising with them presently, and we're also working on doing a internal house development program so that we can take the people that we have that we know are good and them become better and move into these positions and better for themselves.
That's what I was going, thank you, by the way. That's what I was gonna ask, if we have examined creating opportunities to get some of the certifications and licenses in-house so that we could lean on that as like a recruitment angle. And I don't know how that would be, like how we would hire someone at a certain entry level, but offer some type of growth plan and building them up by paying for some of the certifications. I think that would be a good investment. And it also just shows our commitment to, kind of growing our own in-house. It's a learning opportunity. Has that been a discussion at all? Has that been something to consider within the budget, especially when we've had, vacancies that have gone year after year, kind of present in the department?
Chair Cassett, Counselor Chavez. Yes, that has been discussed, and we're working with HR as far as redeveloping our job descriptions so that we can lower some of the expectations and get the people into it and provide them the training. And we've identified the source and get them the training. And we're working on getting those individuals sent up to Denver to get that done as well.
That's great. I just feel like, there's so much work that the individuals in your department are doing. They're working so hard. And then the community still has a level of frustration just because the demand is so beyond what the individuals in the department can do. They're working as quickly as they can, but there's only so much possible. So it's kind of essential that it's a full department in order to really reach the demand out there and improve this perception in regards to customer service and response. Because everyone there's already doing a great job, but there's only so much a limited number of employees can do for such a great demand. And I think that we do have a great demand here. So I would just, you know, as a final comment, say that filling the vacancies and addressing some of the issues that we hear from constituents is kind of key in resolving the puzzle there and having full improvement. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are exploring options. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Garcia?
Thank you, Madam. Quick questions. You went over the permanent issuance summary or some of the fees that were paid. Are the fees from the fee in lieu incorporated into these figures?
Madam Chair, Counselor Garcia, I am not 100% sure on that. I'd have to check that and get back to you, but I don't believe that they are.
Okay, just want to make sure
Yeah,
because
because
it is technically a fee paid to get the permit to develop, and I want to make sure that it is not lumped in with this figure because it should be pulled out. So if we can get clarification.
I don't believe they are, but I will verify that.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that. Then on slide 9, you talked about short-term rentals. Do we have a number or an idea of short-term rentals that are operating out of compliance? Because we've been given numbers from constituents that are pretty egregious. And so I would like to pose the question to city staff in regards to what city staff feels the out of compliance number is.
Madam Chair, Councilor Garcia, this has been something that's come to our attention recently as well. We do have our staff that works with short-term rentals. They do already look at the web postings and things for short-term rentals in our area. But we don't have some of the resources that we might be able to get engaged with that we've recently has come to our attention. So that we're looking into different ways because our staff is pretty limited on short-term rentals and enforcement. So what we're seeing right now is we have the 1,000 allowable permits for the residential there. And then what we're coming up is around 243, I believe, most recent number of non-residential short-term rentals. And what we're finding out is that somebody has been looking into other avenues that are showing more in their neighborhood of 1,500 to 2,000 short-term rentals operating in our jurisdiction. So we are looking into ways to actually investigate that and to provide enforcement on it. But it is still new, and we are somewhat limited in our capacity because we only have people that are working the short.
Okay, and so I guess given that you're exploring some additional use, I'm happy to hear that of finding additional ways to enforce the current law.
More so to identify.
Identify and
Yes, because I'm sorry, Madam Chair, Councilor Garcia, the way that we enforce short-term rentals now is by complaints. If somebody reports us, then we can go out. And we are going through the websites and trying to find any that are listed, shouldn't be, that are and don't have a permit. So we're looking into that, but we've recently heard of different software programs that have a better way to do that.
I thought we had purchased such software, or at least
We did.
we were told once upon a time there was software that the city was purchasing that would help us cross-reference the short-term rental sites. We would work in collaboration with the whether it be Airbnb, VRBO, whatever it is, these sites that can help us identify the out of compliance sites. And it was, so I'm a bit concerned if we are relying heavily on complaint-driven response versus a more proactive response. We're going to be behind the 8 ball 100% of the time if we're solely relying on complaints. And I think besides software, the other piece of the puzzle is having the appropriate number of enforcement officers to ensure that we can respond in appropriate time. So is there a plan to increase the number of enforcement officers to help with enforcement of not only short-term rental, but other land use issues?
Counselor or Chair Cassett, Counselor Garcia. Yes, there have been discussions about increasing the enforcement division. And there was a software that we had before, it was a Granicus software that we were that had a way of identifying short-term rentals that were illegally operating, but it wasn't working. It didn't do us any good, and we discontinued that. And so now we're finding out that what they're using now is Airbnb to scrub the websites to find out what's actually operating illegally. And they have a good relationship. Our enforcement division as short-term rentals has a good relationship with Airbnb, better so than Vrbo or any of the others. But they work to get those taken off at the website, and then we can go out and issue an interview, whatever we need to do, work on enforcement. But yeah, we have been working. Our plans are to get the staff that we need to do the job. It's just a matter of budget. Being the request is approved.
Okay. And just to circle back on the software, how long ago did we stop using this software?
That was terminated about mid 2023. It was just last year.
Yeah, so we've been relying on complaints for over a year.
Well, it's always been complaint driven as well, but we weren't getting enough of a response from Granicus that it was making it worth investing in. Because that was a subscription based program.
And I think this is, I'll admit, a bit frustrating just because this is very low hanging fruit in the sense operators are currently operating illegally at this moment. We were to go on Airbnb or VRBO. And it shouldn't be incumbent of city staff person to just go constantly and check what's live, what's not live, because that can change on an hourly basis. And it's not fair to staff, to be honest with you. I think we can make better use of their time in regards to the enforcement process. So that gets me to the request of, if we need more folks, which it sounds like we direly do, let's put it in the budget. And if the administration doesn't want to accommodate that, then we as the council can accommodate that request because it's direly needed. And one of the concerns I've heard even before I was a counselor was how short-term rentals are having a negative impact on our community. And if the city is not having a proactive approach to at least try to respond to the concerns of residents, that's where my concern comes in. And I want to ensure that residents feel confident and comfortable that we are doing everything we can to limit the impact on our community because let's be honest, every short-term rental that's rented out means that it's one less person for a person to live in, whether it be on a short or what we can now clarify as a long-term, 30 days or older, or a long-term lease. That's keeping people from living in our community. And I know Mr. Randall probably has a different opinion with tourism, but I mean, we need to be doing everything we can to keep residents living within our community. It's not a tourism versus long-term housing. I don't want it to be that head-to-head battle, but I don't want neighborhoods to be decimated either, which we've seen a lot in my district. And I want to ensure that we offer up any opportunity we can for folks to locate housing. And that's where we can work with Mr. Randall to figure out how do we house our visitors, should they not want to stay in a traditional hotel? What does that look like? I think we can do both, but so I would encourage you to in next year's general operating budget to put in more staff, and we can continue the conversation because if it doesn't make its way up to us, I'll ask the question why, because it's direly needed. It's one of those issues where the public is frustrated, and those are the little things that lead to lack of trust. And we need to build back trust with our community so bad right now. And so thank you for the presentation. I appreciate the information. Or to any updates in the future. No other comments?
If I could just add a little bit of information I have on the numbers.
Director Engel.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing this up, Counselor. And most often, if they're operating illegally, they're not paying lodger's tax anyway, so they don't do us any good except for the spending that it would bring to the city. According to AirDNA, which is the source I use to determine how many short-term rentals there are, in the city and the county, they're just over 21, or just shy of 2,100 in total. About 500 of those are identified as being in the county, according to county records. We've got about 920, 930 of the 1,000 currently permitted. I have a number closer to 250 that are operating in commercial. So that would get us up close to 1,700. So there's probably about 300 to 350 unidentified, not the 1,000 and 1,500 that some people are purporting that there are. So it would be around 300 to 350. Some percentage of those are in the county for sure. And then some percentage. So there are probably a couple of hundred, and I'm not suggesting that's not good, but I am suggesting the problem isn't quite as grand as what is being said that I've heard. So I think we can work on, there are funds that are set aside out of lodger's tax that are for administration. And I have made a note actually today that I wanted to dig into where those funds were being focused. And if it's all going to finance, and some could come to land use, or we say it's enforcement, but it's really detection is another part of it. And if someone could just focus on that detection a little bit more, I think we could use some of those lodger's tax funds to support, even if we brought in a contractor to work on it for the next several months to try to get a handle on this so that we can assure the public that we are in fact concerned and getting it under control. Just a few thoughts.
Thank you, Director Randall. Counselor Castro.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'll try not to be repetitive. I had some of the same concerns as my colleagues, but we addressed more positions, different positions. How is this being improved? Wonderful. Hopefully our new facility for land use will attract some more folks. How does it, so talk to me a little bit about the green building code. And does this mean we're moving closer to the state standards and less requirements? We're just shoring it up?
Chair Cassett and Councilor Castro, That is not the case. The state is catching up to us a little bit. And what we're doing, we're actually making the modifications for the new ordinance and going a little more stringently with our requirements. So we are taking our conservation values into effect with what we're doing. At the same time, the state is catching up to us. They don't do the hers, the wers, and those kinds of things, which are eating evaluation reports and water.
Perfect. That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear that we're actually going to be a little bit more stringent because as we know, we have some water needs and some energy needs we need to deal with. That brings me to my next point, the 6,000 permits on average and the money that is coming to those coffers. Councilor Garcia already sort of asked about the division of that. Is this increased fee collection possibly where we could look for some more enforcement, some more positions?
Chair Cassett, Councilor Castro, these fees go into the PRT. So it's nothing you can touch. It's,
General fund, not GRT.
oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. They're similar.
Yes, general.
So then, as Counselor mentioned, we would have to put that in next year's budget. But noting that we are actually generating some fees that could possibly help fund those, correct? And my last question had to do with the new online system and how that's been working. I know that we had a few hiccups early on with some of the emails, but you mentioned that those have been corrected.
Well, Chair Cassett and Councilor Castro, it's still a work in progress. I'll be honest. It is getting better. We are working some of the snags out. But it is a program that is written to our specifications and our requirements. It's not the same cookie cutter program they're using in Albuquerque or, somewhere else. So we've adapted it to fit our needs and do what we want it to do. And so we're still ironing out a couple bugs, but we are moving in the right direction and they are very responsive and a good program to work with.
Thank you so much, Director. I just want to reaffirm our community that we're working really hard to make this process easier for them and to staff up and to work on the enforcement. And I know that there's different ideas on how we might do some of this enforcement in the future, but that we are concerned about having more staff and more inspectors. As I look at some of the numbers, we have 18,500 inspections completed. How many inspectors do we have on staff?
Have 10 and
It's a pretty hefty workload.
it is, they are going from sun up to sundown. They're very busy and they're going from one job to the next.
And as you mentioned, a lot of these are sort of initiated by constituent complaints. So it's possible that there are even more out there infractions that we could be in theory finding. And so I moved to this idea of how short-term rental agencies or platforms like Vrbo or like Airbnb are sort of in charge of their own regulation. And I wonder if we couldn't ask them for some sort of report, maybe, that we could get from them quarterly or monthly to sort of look in contrast to our records. Just ways that we can help some of these bigger companies help us with this lift because it is significant. Thank you so much. And I cede the floor.
Thank you so much. I actually want to follow up on that last question, Tom. Can you differentiate? So we have our inspectors and we have code enforcement. And so code enforcement is where we're seeing short-term rentals. Our inspectors, they're more actually going out and inspecting building sites. They are making sure that as people are getting permits, that they are meeting the standards needed to get that permit. Am I understanding those two positions correctly?
Madam Chair, that's correct.
Okay.
The inspectors are doing construction inspecting. The inspectors from the inspection division. Now the enforcement division does have inspectors that go out and inspect the short-term rentals and those kinds of things. But those are related to the enforcement division.
So yeah, so that would be a differentiation. So the enforcement division, those inspectors also would go out to inspect anything that, may be wrong with a building if there's a report around, a parapet leaning over into somebody else's or their tree coming up, and they do a lot of our nuisance work as well, correct?
Madam Chair, that is correct. And the Enforcement Division also, they inspect for things like certificates of compliance, which are related to business license.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that differentiation, because I know there's a few things that we define as one thing, or there's different positions that are named the same thing doing different jobs. So important that we look at those. Thank you again for being here. Really, really do appreciate it. I do want to talk a little bit about some of the work that's happening, increasing our expediency with permitting. As you mentioned, e-review with InterGov is what we've been told will be a game changer. We hear that this has been utilized very successfully in other jurisdictions. And that we are having to work pretty closely with ITT to customize InterGov, is my understanding, or to implement InterGov. I know that there are some challenges. It's not as easy as just popping it up on the website. Can you tell us a little bit more about why this is such a complex transition?
Sure, Madam Chair. The EnerGov system is, it's our ERP system, and it's set up to do a lot of different things. And right now, it's not programmed in Santa Fe to do e-review and to do the things that we need. So that'll be a work with Tyler and our IT department to work on the programming of the system in order to be able to accommodate. And that's basically what IT is working on at this time. They've identified a person that's dedicated to us for this purpose, and which is a big step forward for us. We didn't have that before. So IT is doing a great job of identifying our needs for it and accommodating those needs as much as they can.
Wonderful, thank you. And with it being part of the Tyler system, I know that there were some conversations around if there were other software systems that we would want to go with. We decided you all decided to bring Tyler forward to us because there was some benefit in it interacting and collaborating with the rest of our ERP. Am I understanding that correctly?
Madam Chair, let's see, the EnerGov system is where we've made our investment, and that's what was decided that we needed to move forward with and just make it work the best that it can. There are other systems out there, but at this point, I think we've invested so much in the Tyler that changing direction didn't make sense to find it.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I know we've had similar conversations around making sure that we fully invest in systems. We've done a couple times where we've partially invested. We saw this a lot in our conversations with the audit. Are we really, kind of full-fledged into InterGov? Are there going to be aspects that we're not investing in now that are going to show up and really harm us later, or make it so that this is inefficient later?
Madam Chair, I don't think we are invested in EnerGov and moving full force with it, is my understanding. And they're constantly working on improving the system to do what we need, make it do what we need it to do. And I think that the EnerGov, the Tyler portion of it, has given us some difficulty in the past as far as maybe the customer service of that. But with the dedicated personnel that IT is giving us, that should help to move that out.
Wonderful. And you may not have this answer, and don't commit to things that you can't promise, but do you have a timeline for when we think this will actually be up and running?
Madam Chair, I do not.
I understand you being careful. We have learned our lesson there. Don't tell us if you don't know, but am looking forward to some more updates there. A couple pieces of feedback that I've received from constituents and that I've experienced myself. I'm really excited to hear about the checklists. I am hoping that those checklists are being reviewed by people who do not speak land use. Because I have seen that there are times when we'll direct somebody to the website and the land use department, thinks that this is crystal clear. But that's because you all are immersed in this world, in this language. So as you're looking through these checklists, are you, beta testing them with members of the public who don't necessarily have a good understanding of this, specifically when we are looking at some of the checklists for individual residents. Obviously the large developers, this is their world, this is what they do. But as somebody who's trying to build a porch or put in a new fence or an addition to their property.
Madam Chair, that's a good point, and I don't know that we have actually done that in the past with like the beta testing like you're suggesting. But it is a good suggestion, and it's something that we would definitely entertain. And like I said, we don't want to settle for mediocrity with our checklists. We want to improve them and improve the process. So if constituents are having difficulty understanding, they let us know, then we can address that and improve the.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that. And, we do, of course, have, they're a little bit more well-versed in the code, but, we do have that Citizens Advisory Working Group right now for the Chapter 14 update. They might be a really interesting group to utilize as we're looking at these checklists, and they're already there and ready to go. One piece of feedback I did receive from a constituent is if you go on the website to the "Do I need a building permit?" and it has these lists of things that you need a building permit for, but it's not an exhaustive list. And unfortunately on the website, it absolutely does give the impression that it could be an exhaustive list. And so these individuals went onto the website, took a look at the list and didn't see their particular project listed. When I had spoken to Landis about this, it was like, well, of course you would need a permit for that. That's a large project, but if it's not on this, permits are required for the following, and then permits are not required for the following, and it's not on either of those lists, I do think that there is some room for confusion. So it probably would be very hard to make an exhaustive list, but if it is not, that we should probably state, this is not exhaustive, any, large project, please call or email X if you are uncertain if your project is going to require that. So that would be handy if we could do that as we're updating the websites.
Sure, that's good suggestion as well. And the website is always, it's a living document. We're always trying to improve that, and we take the recommendations that come to us and we make our adjustments.
Wonderful. Thank you. My last question has to do with how we might, and I know this is a bit of a nascent conversation, and I've spoken with Heather and some other team members about this, but looking at template building plans for building types that we would like to encourage. So I'm specifically interested in ADUs. I know Albuquerque has implemented a program where I believe they have about 8 different kind of plug-in building plans for ADUs. LA has done something similar, but essentially looking at some of these housing types that we'd like to encourage that we know can be a little bit challenging, costly, timely, and how we can ease the burden of individuals so that they are able to actually move forward and build those. We were pretty aggressive with our ADU policy and encouraging those. And I know that this has been something else that I've heard a lot of feedback and a lot of chatter about, and I'm very interested in and continuing to look at it, but I'd be curious to get your input if this is something you guys have already considered or you have run across or have any thoughts on that.
Sure, Madam Chair, it is a good topic, and it has come up before, and we have looked into it. And we basically met with the Santa Fe Realtors Association and some members of the AIA and the Santa Fe Area Builders, I believe. So we got together and we're trying to figure out what we needed to do this. And we were looking at other models from, there was one in Southern California, LA, I think. And well, I spoke with the administrator down in Albuquerque about their program as well. Robin Rose over there. And we were looking into it, and we're just waiting for any plans to be submitted to us as like master plans. And the AIA, I believe they had some reservations about the legality of who's going to stamp it, or and whether or not the the onus goes on the person submitting the plans to get this this template document, but then they go and they have to know where they're going to place it, and they accept the responsibility with that. So there it's still in flux a little bit, but it is something that we were waiting for, a follow-up meeting or plans to take a look at, incorporate into our system.
Wonderful. Well, I am happy to hear that. Definitely very interested. And so I will, I'll absolutely follow up with you to discuss further. And I'm very glad that you guys are already meeting and having these conversations, and the people that are in the room are in the room. So, well, thank you so much again for being here and for providing those updates. And we will let you go now. And I'm sure we'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All right, let's move along. So we are going to item C. This is request for approval of a budget amendment resolution, BAR, to reappropriate the remaining Affordable Housing Trust Fund budget in the amount of $1,944,692 into the FY25 budget. Counselor Castro has removed this to recuse herself. She has left the room. At this time, is there any questions, or do I have a motion?
To approve?
Motion and a second. May I please have a roll call?
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Cassett,
Yes.
motion passes.
Wonderful. We get Counselor Castro, please. Wonderful. Thank you. Moving right along to matters from staff. I will hand it over to you all.
Good evening, counselors. I just have one quick thing to announce. I'm really pleased to announce that the city of Santa Fe is enrolled in the AARP network of age-friendly communities. So we were accepted last week, and we'll be working on next steps moving forward. Our next step will be a community assessment that will take place this year. And then next year will be the drafting of a age-friendly plan. So everybody, all of our departments, you all, the community will be involved in that planning process. I'm really excited to look at some of the resources that they're already providing to us, and how we can best plan for accessibility and being an age-friendly community.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, Counselor Chavez, for spearheading that. Director
Thank
Randall.
you. Madam Chair, just two things. We have heard unofficially that the Condé Nast Readers Poll has once again ranked Santa Fe the #2 small city destination in the country. Charleston stayed at #1, but holding #2 spot for 3 years in a row now is pretty significant for our city. So really pleased about that. The official announcement will be in October, and that's when it can go into the press. But want to share with you all that information. And I did see a few of you at the Zozobra celebration. I think it was quite a 100th year, whether you saw it in person or on TV. And the inflation of the balloon was pretty spectacular when it went up for the first time at about 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, I think it was Friday. So pleased with that Zozobra balloon, and I think we're going to get quite a bit of exposure from it. The response within the city, of course, was wonderful, but I think the the balloon community is going to be pretty impressed with that balloon. It's definitely one of a kind, so really pleased, and thank you, those who were able to be there for that. Great.
Thank you so much. Marcel, anything from you today? Wonderful, thank you. Anything matters from the committee? Counselor Castro?
Really quickly, and I'm sure we'll announce this governing body, but fall biking and hiking schedule begins September 16th. So we have a whole slew of hiking and biking for constituents.
Well, thank you. Counselor Chavez?
You Chair, I just want to thank Maria for all her work around the age-friendly application and working with ARP and all of that work. I know it's been a lot, but I think it's going to benefit our community. So I just thank you for your commitment and communication and willingness to put in the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
for your Support.
Matters from the chair, I have none. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, September 18th, and at 6:02 PM, we are adjourned. Thank you all so much.